because it makes a big difference.
Okay, this meeting is being recorded.
All right. So
Let's continue.
I'm here with my friends Allan Vogel and Benjamin Kamins on behalf of the Idyllwild Arts Academy. I've become the director of the orchestral studies up there, and we are having our first virtual online summer camp starting next Monday. And so I've been talking to some of the faculty members and masterclass artists about what the summer is going to be like. And if you've been to Idyllwild before, you know it's a gorgeous place, but we are doing all of this online. But I'm happy to say that I have some of the greatest artists in the world on the faculty, so it's a privilege. Welcome, guys.
Well, thanks for the compliments. If you were talking about us, maybe with somebody else on the faculty.
I was indeed. So, Alan, tell us about your current teaching situation.
Well, if you think about current meaning today and very recently, very, very little. I'm doing very little teaching this summer. And I'm enjoying, for the first time in my life, being home during the summer without having responsibilities. Because in the past, as soon as I finished my teaching, let's say at California Institute of the Arts or USC, or in the past at Colburn, and many other places too, I was always teaching like crazy and playing like crazy. And then suddenly the summer would come and I would suddenly get on all kinds of planes and go from one place to another. So I'm enjoying actually not teaching and being able to do my own disciplines of practicing, etc. And that makes me look forward to the teaching that this one class I was going to do. And because I haven't been doing a lot every day, as it's been my whole life. And I'm also looking forward to teaching younger students and seeing what they're like and what the new generation is like. So, because most of my students have been, graduate students. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Great. Ben, what have you been up to?
Well, we finished our virtual semester at Rice, which is at the Shepherd School of Music at Rice University, which is where I spend most of my time. Although actually that's not true. I spend most of my time in this room, but in the past I would say that's where I spend most of my time. And of course, just like Alan, everything has been canceled for the summer, so everything's being done virtually. Earlier in the summer, I put on a 1 week long fundraiser workshop with Billy Short, former student of mine who plays in the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra and teaches at Juilliard, and where we gave all the proceeds went to artist relief, and we had 180 attendees and classes, and I'm also a certified Alexander technique teacher, so I gave an Alexander class. Wow. And after that, but things calmed down a little bit for a while, and tried to, just doing occasional Zoom lessons, and then did the virtual music academy at Music Academy of the West in Santa Barbara, though we obviously weren't in Santa Barbara. And it turned out extraordinarily well, because not only did we have just the classes with us, the lessons and the classes with instrumental faculty, they've been doing some streaming, but also they did a whole bunch of online classes that dealt with entrepreneurship and dealt with developing sides of your musical career that people don't normally associate with orchestral musicians. And as we go into as musicians, as we go into the future. And I think that was a wonderful opportunity for college students. And I understand, Ransom, that you're offering something very, very similar to this here at Idyllwild for our younger students. And so maybe you could just speak to that, because I found that was extraordinarily successful this summer at Music Academy. And they really turned, this very trying time into really a productive time for a lot of young people.
Yeah, what you described sounds very much like what we're planning. We have, I think maybe the most important class we have there is called the 21st Century Musician, and it's taught by a Yale professor whose name is Astrid Baumgartner. She's got a brand new book about what it's like to be a member of society as a musician. and what your responsibilities are, and what your rights are. And she's she holds seminars all the time on how to develop your career, how to develop relationships with your colleagues. She's a genius, and I think it's going to be an amazing class. Um, we've also got how to write electronic tracks to back you up if you're going to do something online. How to record yourself specifically for an online platform. Um, I'm teaching a class called Orchestras of the World, where we're going to look at the great orchestras in the world and talk about their individual characteristics, their history, their what they specialize in, that kind of thing. So a lot of varied things in addition to master classes with artists like you and a distinguished faculty for lessons as well. So yeah, thanks for asking me about that, because we're excited about that part of it as well. So uh, if Alan, if you were to somehow encapsulate your teaching philosophy in let's say a paragraph or less.
Okay, I won't go on too long. Well, I had great teachers, all very different from one another. And I guess what I'm doing now, especially after so many years have elapsed, is trying to draw the best from all of them. And what it really boils down to is the idea that practicing is an art in itself, and that even though we are not free to drive around and risk and take airplanes as we used to be to do our playing, and we have to do it in our own house, that does save a lot of time. And if we accommodate ourselves perfectly to the situation that we're in, even though of course it can be difficult in some instances, uh, we'll be better off in a way. I think if everyone spends months practicing, in the long run, they'll be better players for having had this difficult experience. So my philosophy is practicing is an art in itself, and that was mentioned to me in those words by one of my great teachers. And what it boils down to, and I have a kind of routine in practicing, which I follow in lessons too, and it's basically fundamentals first, very, very carefully and with a lot of passion. Sometimes I think even if there was no music, I would still want to play the oboe just to try to overcome the difficulties of the instrument. It gets the stubbornness out of your system playing the oboe. So then you can get along with your friends much better. So I like to work on the difficulties in the fundamental area, and I do that obviously first. I don't even like the term warming up. Sometimes you can warm up the instrument by putting it on your arm, that warms it up, but the idea of working your whole life daily on fundamentals. Then I like to do music second, and I like to play unaccompanied cello and flute and violin, and even a few oboe pieces. But I love to play all the Bach pieces written for these other instruments. I even have the A minor unaccompanied flute sonata in G minor, and it works much better than when you try to play it in A.
Oh yeah.
I love playing the orchestral excerpts, working on the beautiful orchestral solos written for our instruments. Of course, I love playing concertos. I was working on the Martinu concerto again, Ransom, that we played in Tuscaloosa together. And I love it. So in my second phase of practicing, which is music, I try to cover, solo music, orchestral music, and concertos. And then after that, I go on to the etudes, which is, I feel, establishes me as part of the community of oboists who have written them. And I love just the way they try to do the difficult things. So those are my philosophy. In my teaching, I would start with fundamentals, go to music. Part of the reason I do music second instead of third is I had a French teacher in which he never wanted to do music. And he just wanted to play etudes and fundamentals. And I asked him, when are we going to do music? He said, never. So that's why you have to put music. You can't just think of the oboe as a technical thing. You have to be inspired by the great music. So I do that second. And With my last breaths, I do the heart etudes.
Sounds good. Ben, how do you answer that question?
Well, not terribly differently than Alan. I think that we all want to become great instrumentalists and great musicians. And you can't be a great musician if you can't play your instrument, great. And so I also stress fundamentals mightily in my scales, long tones, and intervals, and all the permutations of those things. And I agree with Alan. I practice those first, and I encourage my students to practice those first. I think it's really important to realize that when you listen to somebody who plays an instrument or sings in a way that you really, really love, they play one note and you hear something in what they're saying on the instrument that really speaks to you. And you don't listen to somebody and say, boy, I just really love that person's echoes. And so I think that you're developing that voice, that individual personal voice in your fundamentals and your fascination with your fundamentals. And that's where the essence of who you are as a musician is really going to come through. Unlike Alan, I move on to etudes at this point, and because I think an important element of etudes, even though by and large most of them are not great music, they are constructed like great music, in that you have to start in the upper left-hand corner and play all by yourself, and play down to the lower right-hand corner, and you have to make a cohesive piece of music out of this. And I think you can learn that extremely well from etudes, because even though I spend, and particularly now I'm spending a lot of time practicing unaccompanied Bach and some of the really great music written for single line instrument, including the flute partita, which I play in D minor, incidentally. And is that etudes are written for my instrument, and so they are idiomatic for it. And I think it covers certain elements of tessitura and technical things that you're not going to be challenged by. You're challenged by other things when you play this music. So that really fits into it. And then music is done. It's hard for me to differentiate between music and these other things. I know we all would agree upon that. I teach orchestral excerpts all the time, and we practice these things. I don't enjoy I do it. Don't get me wrong. I do it all the time. I don't enjoy it as much as the other things because I don't enjoy the little snippets of things taken out of the totality as much. I remember, every time you ever play Beethoven, the bassoon excerpt from Beethoven 4 in an audition, it's like there's no sound, and all of a sudden you hear.
That was too slow.
Apparently, the committee says, "Could you do that again, please?" But I think you understand where I'm going with this. I think that developing the whole musician is going to make those pieces a whole lot easier. But of course, we practice them because we have to.
Yeah.
Great. So, Alan, tell us what you've been doing while you've been locked up in the house for the last 4 months.
Well, I'm actually very happy to be here. And I mean, if not for all the suffering I see going on in the world and in the country and the disease, I'd be totally happy, because this is almost the first time I can remember in my life that I've been not under pressure to run and do something, or just to have the time to do the things I want to do. And so I have a routine more or less that I do every single day. I meditate in the morning. I'm a kind of a freelance Buddhist. So I meditate in the morning. Then I listen to a Bach cantata, sometimes stretch around, sometimes I look at the scores, look at the translations, and I've been doing this every single day. It's my newest thing. Then I practice my fundamentals. I do some of my practicing, then I go for a nice long run in the park. So I'm kind of happy to be able to do all these things which I like to do in a more relaxed manner. And I don't mind staying at home playing the oboe instead of getting on airplanes and playing for microphones and being under pressure. I've done that. This is the first summer I've ever done that. And my wife and I have this wonderful cat who we're in love with. So this poor cat has always had to have cat sitters and people not take care of the house and this and that. So now he's much happier. And so I don't, and I like to play again. Usually, the end of the day, I play Bach on the piano. So my life is very much revolving musically around Bach, and I recommend that very highly because the more I get to know Bach, the more I realize how much we're underestimating him.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Yeah, yeah. I was going to say my three dogs can't believe fortune, and if we ever get back to traveling again, they're going to be apoplectic. So
Mhm.
just they're just they're having the best time of their lives, and so Ben, tell us what are you up to this whole time?
Well, I have a bit of a Groundhog Day existence, like Alan, in that it's there's a I will call it there is of something of a routine. I certainly wouldn't call it a dull routine because I find also have no trouble keeping myself busy. I am not a meditator, but as I mentioned, I teach the Alexander technique, so I have a routine that I do with that. My wife and I, we go for a long walk in the neighborhood, staying a long way away from everybody. And I come back and I do some of my Alexander work, and I try to take care of myself. I cook dinner every night, so
Wow.
trying to keep our diet is healthy, and I'm practicing. And like Alan, I'm spending a great deal of time playing unaccompanied Bach. There isn't any written for bassoon, but nonetheless, I steal wantonly, and from the flute, I also steal Alan. I steal the solos from the cantatas of the great oboe solos,
Oh my.
and which I recommend to anybody who plays a bass clef instrument, especially playing bassoon, is become very adept at reading treble clef down an octave on bassoon, because then you opens up a world of music of great music to you that you don't have with some of the music that we're talking about. So I spend quite a bit of time with that. I spend time practicing. I'm trying to learn to play the bassoon, and I'm really practicing, and I have the time to practice really, really deeply and listen carefully, and like Alan said, if there wasn't so much misery going on in the world, it's a welcome. It's not a. It gives us this enormous opportunity. It's to do that, and instead of bemoaning my fate, I'm trying to really, really hone my skills, and that's something I really am trying to get across to the young people. I don't know when we're going to be playing again. I think we will be playing again. I don't believe in this expression, the new normal. What we have now is we have what we're doing now. Take advantage of this time to really hone your skills, so that out of this you're going to be all the better musician for it, and as we move on.
Well, you
Right.
inspired me so much. I think I'm going to go practice. So, look, thanks so much for taking your time to talk to us, and we will see you next week online at Idyllwild Arts.
Great. Look forward to it.
Yes.
Thanks,
Thank
Raz.
you.
Thank you, Al.